With Stanford looking to advance to the national championship match for the third straight year, but darkness falling, semi-final play was suspended at a crucial moment last night. The Cardinal lead ASU 2-1 with Albane Valenzuela 1-up on the 18th hole against individual champion Monica Vaughn. Play will resume at 10 a.m. Eastern this morning with team champions crowned this afternoon. Over on the European Tour, their Rolex Series begins with the BMW PGA Championship this week. The event boasts their best field of the season, and we will bring you live reports from Wentworth ahead of their flagship event. Plus, Jordan Spieth defends in his home state for the very first time, but he arrives off the back of consecutive missed cuts. Can he fix what went wrong off the tee last week? We have all that and more on Morning Drive now. Well, good morning. It is May 24th, and the finalist for the NCAA Women's Championship match hangs in the balance. But one match that was decided yesterday was between the alma mater of two of our analysts here. The Florida Gators went up against the Sun Devils. Chris DeMarco, in other words, took on Blair O'Neill, and guess who came out on top? Yes, it was a demolition job, was it not? As we welcome you into studio,
it was.
Garrett Robinson alongside this pair of former college golfers.
It was a beatdown, Chris. Chris, 5-0.
I gotta put this up.
I've done the honor of taking my Sparky off of my driver, Chris. Here you go. He's going to be your best friend today. You guys get to just hang out and have a good time.
Great.
I love it. I like it.
That was a shellacking is what it was. 5-0. It wasn't even close. I couldn't even get excited into it.
It wasn't.
It's all right. It's all right.
But
good win by,
I came out on top, so.
by the Sun Devils.
You did tell us that
right,
at the end of the show, so you're going to be best friends with Sparky for the next 3 hours.
We're going to get to know each other real well tonight.
They are.
There you go.
Hopefully bring us
I'm going to
some
take him some places I don't think he's ever been. So just so you know.
Okay. Well, yes, ASU beat Florida 5-0 in yesterday morning's quarterfinals, but let's get to what is happening now. And after a lengthy 2-hour and 20-minute weather delay yesterday afternoon, the semi-finals of the NCAA Division I Women's Golf Championships were suspended due to darkness and will resume at 10 a.m. Eastern Time with neither of the finalists for today's championship match yet determined. Let's update you on highlights from the semi-final play so far, and we will start with the match Northwestern versus USC. Chris, Hannah Kim from Northwestern took on Robin Ree from USC. This was a birdie putt at the 8th.
Yeah, beautiful stroke here. She kind of walks this one in. Nice, right in the middle.
So Robin Ree went 1-up for USC. We will move ahead to Northwestern's Janet Mao taking on USC's Gabriella Then. Mao, Blair, was 2 down at the 4th hole. This her second from the rough.
Here's a perfect example of the tough conditions they've been playing in. That rain just tumbling down. She makes a great swing here. Actually, this is a very, come on in, a stellar shot here. She would make this for eagle, and let's see her reaction. I mean, I feel like I'd be a little more excited than that. In those tough conditions, that is an amazing shot. That's huge for them.
Shot of the day, I would say.
But
wet conditions, as you say, gets her back to just 1 down. Chris, now USC's Gabriella Then with the birdie chance at 12.
Yeah, this is to win the hole, and this is another great putt, right dead center. Awesome putt.
Yeah, having watched her opponent eagle, as we said earlier on at the 4th, that birdie at the 12th got her back to 1-up in the match. We'll move ahead, Blair, to Northwestern. Stephanie Lau against USC's Tiffany Chan, and Lau with a birdie chance at 4.
Now Lau here is 1 back. There's a nice putt here.
She sunk that to get all square. We're going to move straight ahead. Sorry, to USC's Chan on the 7th hole. That was for a par putt to half the hole. She made that to stay 1 down in the match against Stephanie Lau. Blair will join the 8th hole now, and this is a par putt for Chan.
Right, pressure putt here. Now, as you can see in this match, Northwestern and USC, there's not a huge lead here anywhere, so anything can happen here today. It's a close matchup.
It sure is. So let's take a look at how things stand in this first semi-final when play was called last night. As you can see, it's kind of one-sided at the moment.
But anything can happen. There's still a lot of one-ups, so it's pretty close. A lot can happen in those few holes.
And they've still got the closing stretch to come. So still plenty more to be played. No points yet on the board between Northwestern and Southern California. Let's move ahead to the other semi-final match that's going on between Stanford and Arizona State, Blair. And we will start with Stanford's Albane Valenzuela taking on the individual champion. This is her shot at the par 3 13th, first back from rain delay.
Yeah, right after the rain delay. And this shows what a tough player she is. A hits a great shot there to 3 feet. She's dialed in. Now I can tell you, after a break like this, coming off with that shot, this is going to give her a big boost of confidence going into this match.
Coach Ann Walker with her every step of the way. She would go on to win that hole, get to 1 down. Now at the 15th, another birdie chance, Chris.
Yeah, and she's 1 down here, so this would square the match, and she goes ahead and drills this right in the middle of the hole.
A big fist pump to match as well. She knows what that means. She's come back from 2 down after the rain delay to square the match, heading to the 16th hole, Blair, and we will catch them now on the 18th in the middle of the fairway.
Yeah, this was the bit of controversy here. Arizona, it's getting dark, and as we see here, Valenzuela is going to mark her ball. Now, let's be honest, at this point, Arizona State had lost a little bit of momentum. Vaughn had lost some momentum, and this match really is the depending factor of the livelihood of Arizona in the semifinal. So Vaughn, today coming back and playing, she has absolutely no margin of error here to keep Arizona State alive.
Alrighty, so Stanford lead Arizona State 2-1 when play was suspended due to darkness. The 2015 national champions need just 1 more point to advance to the championship match for a 3rd straight year. Weather had been the leading story of the week so far, so let's check in with the alley forecast for Rich Harvest Farms today, and there is still a good chance of rain, up to 20% from about 10 o'clock this morning when play is due to resume. A little bit windy, but just cloudy, no chance of thunderstorms, which is what did cause the suspension in play yesterday. Live coverage from the final day of the Women's NCAA Championships will follow us at 10 a.m. Eastern Time as semi-final play is set to resume. But Blair, we just mentioned it. That was a pretty strategic decision by ASU to decide to come back and finish the match this morning. You could see Stanford wanted to get it done.
They definitely did.
They needed that 1 more point, and that would be them booked into the championship match, which means they would get the advantage with a rest this morning.
Definitely. I mean, the way that it was looking like it was all in Stanford's hands. It was the right decision for Arizona State, and I think any team in that position would have made the same decision. Obviously, I'm sure Stanford would have rather kept going, but coming back today, Vaughn, both of them are actually going to have a tough shot there. Not a tough shot, but a big shot there, especially for Vaughn, a 3-wood. Off of a tight lie. Hopefully the conditions are better today, but I mean, it's all or nothing. Like I said, there's no margin of error for her, so we'll see what happens.
I have to say, Chris, watching how well Valenzuela came out of that weather delay yesterday and got herself from 2 down to now being 1 up. She's going to be in a similar situation today, albeit an overnight delay. She knows what she's got to do to come out, but she's facing a lady who's been playing very well all week. Monica Vaughn was crowned the individual champion on Monday evening. What would you predict would take place?
Well, I mean, obviously they're going to come out fresh, which I kind of like the way it stopped because it took the momentum away from obviously.
Definitely,
you know. And so they're going to go out today, and hopefully we'll see what happens. But 1 hole, all she has to do is tie the hole, and it's over. So a lot of pressure.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. But if she wins it, you never know.
Right.
It's going to be exciting to watch, that's for sure.
Then they'll go extra holes, and Monica Vaughn is the leader for the Sun Devils, so we'll have to see what happens in that. Also happening now, the European Tour's flagship event is being held at the site of its headquarters in Wentworth this week. The 156-man field boasts a group that consists of 9 major champions with 15 titles between them. Now, the BMW PGA Championship is the first in a new 8-tournament Rolex series, which all have purses of $7 million or greater. They also have enhanced Race to Dubai and Ryder Cup points, plus more TV coverage. So, for more on this week in Wentworth, we can now welcome in our correspondent over in England. Diana Doherty is at Wentworth for us. Good morning, Di.
Good morning, Cara. Delighted to be back on Morning Drive. Really good to hear your voice, and I'm delighted also to be joined by former winning Ryder Cup captain Paul McGinley. Paul, first off, it's absolutely boiling here. We don't expect these temperatures, do we? It's like Orlando temperatures, so we've all got a bit of sun cream on. But Cara was just talking there about the Rolex series, and I know you're on the European Tour board since October last year, so you've been pretty instrumental in decisions that have been made. How important is this Rolex series for the European Tour, and how do you see the future going for the Tour itself?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big step forward for us, certainly not just in terms of prize money, but in terms of how we're going to promote events, what we're going to do, how we're going to produce them on TV, big crowds as you can see this week, and just elevate a number of tournaments. And at the moment we're going to have 7 this year, and we're hoping to bring that forward to more and more as the years go on. Yeah,
so stronger fields, more money, more world ranking points available, and more Race to Dubai points available. So you're hoping to attract a lot more big names over the next 8 events of the Rolex series.
Yeah, well, we've got all the European big names here this week. You know, obviously Rory is injured. Other than that, we've pretty much got everybody. Sergio doesn't play in the UK, unfortunately, so we don't have the Masters champion here. But other than that, we have have, you know, the rest of the Ryder Cup team are here, and it's a big deal. This is a big showcase event. The TPC was on in America a few weeks ago. That's their big showcase home event, and this one is ours.
Jon Rahm, he's put his name down for the Irish Open, and we're going to find out from Sergio Garcia over the next few days which Rolex Series events he will be playing. Turning our attention to the course here at Wentworth, which we both know really well. I walked around it last week because I live a couple of minutes away and you're around the corner. You have again been really instrumental in the changes here. You've been on the board with Thomas McGinley. You brought him in, and David Jones, who's one of the board members, to negotiate with Ernie Els Design and European Golf Design to make these changes. The players have been speaking about them for the past kind of 8 years, that changes kind of needed to be made after previous changes were made. What do you make of the final result, and what are the players' opinions? What are they saying?
Well, I hope players like it for a start. So it's a collaboration, basically, just in a nutshell. So it was an old Harry Cole course, one of the great designers in the history of the game, designed Sunningdale up the road as well, among lots of other courses, Port Rush, where the Royal Port Rush, where the British Open will be in a few years' time. So a great designer, and a number of years ago, in the last decade, the previous owners decided to upgrade the course and put a modern twist on it, and made a lot of changes to it in consultation with Ernie Els Design, and some of those were good, some of them weren't received particularly well, and the field hasn't been particularly strong here the last number of years, and players didn't like the changes. They felt the greens particularly had too much movement on them, and the members found it very difficult. So it was decided with the new ownership coming in here and the new executive in the European Tour Board that, you know, we try to pinpoint renovating our home course and our home venue in Wentworth. So what we did was Ernie Els Design came in again, European Golf Design, that's owned by the European Tour, and I sat in the middle of that with Thomas Bjorn and David Jones, and our job was to be a sounding board for the players and coordinate all the changes. But it was very much based on what the players' feedback had given us over the last number of years, and would also keep and not back to the old days of Harry Colt, but also keeping the members very much in play as well. So the golf course becomes very playable for the members when the tournament is not here.
And players, the response, what has it been like?
Well, we'll see. I mean, social media, you know, nowadays you get good, bad and indifferent very quickly. Yeah, I know. But very positive so far. And I think it will. You know, we haven't done anything radical here, Di. What we've done is we've gone back to where it was, in the direction it was. Not all the way back, because, you know, there is a modern twist to it. We put a sub-air system in, for example, which is very important in a modern game, to have the greens firm. We felt that was the big key, to have a golf course playable for the members, but then a challenge for the professionals was to turn on the sub-air and make sure those greens are nice and firm. And thank you, Mother Nature is going to help this week with the good weather. So that was a big key, and I think the changes certainly make the golf course more playable, easier, you could say, but the firm greens will be a big test this week, and that's the whole key.
Yeah, it would be really great to see the coverage and see what changes you have made. 29 bunkers removed, all 18 greens reseeded, 4 rebuilt and 5 partially rebuilt. So again, let's move on to Henrik Stenson, who last night received a fabulous award, the Sevi Award, voted for by the players, being Player of the Year. What will that mean to Henrik, the Open champion?
Well, I think winning a major championship, first of all, is the big thing. You know, to be a major champion, his career deserved it. You know, Sergio's career deserved it, and it was great to see those two guys coming through in the last few major championships to win. They've been stalwarts for the European Tour for a long period of time, and fully deserve to be major champions, and now they have that. Hopefully the shackles come off and we might see them going on to win 2 and 3 majors each at least.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time, Paul. I know you're extremely busy. Enjoy the rest of the week. I'm sure we'll speak to you at some point.
Sure.
And for now, it's back to you, Cara.
All right, Di, thank you. Love hearing from both of you back near my home as well. Enjoy the week ahead, and we'll talk to you in the next coming days. Well, after missing the AT&T Byron Nelson cut when he'd put a new putter in his bag, defending Dean DeLuca champion Jordan Spieth is back to using the flat stick that has helped him win over $28 million on the PGA Tour. Yes, the trusty old Scotty Cameron is back in his bag this week, and he will play his first 2 rounds at Colonial Country Club alongside Pat Perez, of course, a winner already this season at the OHL Mayakoba Classic, and 2-time major champion Zach Johnson. They will go off at 2:06 p.m. Eastern Time, and our coverage from Colonial Country Club begins at 4 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. We'll now send it over to Chris, who is with our Golf Channel Academy lead coach.
Thank you, Cara. I am here with Travis Fulton, and we're going to break down kind of Jordan Spieth's driver issues. What do we got working?
Yeah, a little bit of concern right now. It's the first time in his career that he's not gaining strokes off the tee to the field. He's actually slightly in the negative. I don't think a major red flag right now, but I do think there's a couple things here to talk about that could help this right miss. And we're going to roll the tape here. And of course, you know,
shoulders look a little open.
A little bit. Last week here at the Byron, the 16th here, you know, he's asking this ball to get lucky, and you can see this ball's way to the right. This is a big miss here.
Way right. That's 50 yards.
For a PGA Tour player to hit it that far right. Here's the second one that comes in, and when the ball starts that far right and it's going right, we know that the club face at impact here is looking way to the right here. We're going to bring this arrow in, and it's, you know, it's a fair amount open, right? So when you're working with players and you're developing players, and particularly at this level, you know, so much of what you're doing, Chris, is you're trying to improve the probability of the club face coming in square at impact. So you have a good face and path relationship. So what are some things here that perhaps his coach, Cam McCormick, and him are looking at to help get the club face looking more down the target line? We're going to go to another footage here, and I'm going to bring it in here from Face On. And this footage from Face On is back at the AT&T where he won his tournament. And when we look at Face On, there's going to be a couple things that we're going to look at here. And the first that really jumps out to me, and this is a good camera angle here, is ball position. This ball position, if we bring a line in,
looks a little back.
It does, right? It is a little bit back. And to me, that's a little bit of his tendency with the driver. Ball back's always a little bit of a concern for me with the driver, especially when you have a bowed left wrist and the left elbow kind of pulling away like we see with Spieth at impact. That can get the club face looking to the right. You can see here, if I come into impact, that left wrist is flat looking at the camera. Now watch, I'm going to bow the wrist out, fold my elbow. Now it's looking way to the right. So I'd like to see that ball a little more forward. Now, we're going to bring the right post in here. This is a line that we use a lot, and I know that they work on really trying to get the right hip to turn better. We're going to take this to the top. This is a good turn here for Jordan. Watch the right hip. It's going to stay inside the post, and I think more importantly, it's going to be at more of an appropriate angle. We know the right hip needs to be a little bit higher than the left. The tendency with Jordan, though, is that right hip will ride very high and start to kind of move lateral this way, and then the head will start to lower. And that puts him in a difficult position and from time to time with the driver to square the club face up. Now, watch as we come to impact. I'm going to show you as he comes into impact. Now, it's kind of hard to see, but look at this left wrist. It's way out in front of the lead shoulder and bowed out like that.
And if that ball position was up a little bit, the club face might be a little bit square at impact.
I think it would improve the probability of that. Yeah, I think the club face with that wrist condition would help the club face, give it more time to look down the intended target line. So for me, as I look at this, a couple things. One is I'd like to see the ball maybe a little more forward in the stance. And then I think with Jordan, as he continues to work that turn this way, not so high this way, that keeps him a little bit more level, a little deeper in the turn. And I think with that forward ball position, he'll be able to go up and get it and get the face looking down the intended target line. Now let's face it, Chris, if he can keep the ball in front of him right now, his iron game is so good. You know, he's third in greens.
And we know what he does on the greens.
Well, he's going to get back to the he's going to get back to his form on the green. So it's just keeping the club face looking more down the intended target line, and he's got to get rid of that big miss out to the right because you can't play the tour with that.
Yep. That is some great insight, Travis. Thank you so much. Let's send it over to LT at the demo.
You got it, Chris DeMarco. Things to look for with Jordan Spieth this week at the Dean and DeLuca Invitational, but still ahead when it comes to the action at the NCAA Women's Division I Golf Championships. There's still action to be had in the semis before we can get to the finals. So coming up, we've got live reports over the next few hours from the scene leading up to the resumption of coverage at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Then we're going to turn it on over to this week's major on the PGA Tour Champions being contested in the D.C. area at a course created by our current U.S. president. So before the KitchenAid Senior PGA Championship kicks off, we sent our Golf Channel insider Tim Rosafort for a one-on-one conversation with his in-the-know son, Eric Trump. Looking forward to getting those details. Plus, listen up, country music fans. One of the most popular bands in the biz that also knows how to throw it down on the golf course is getting ready to perform at one of the biggest team events in the game of golf. And I'm going to catch up with Rascal Flatts to talk about their new album and a whole lot more. So all of that's in store. We're going to be flexing our country music muscle. Something that Travis Fulton can do. I know Chris DeMarco can. You love country music, don't you?
Absolutely.
You and me both. We've been to some of those concerts. Blair, Cara?
Oh, yeah, I love country.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of country. So is Sparky, too.
And a morning drive. Oh. Yikes.